The contests are over, all the entries are in, the judging is complete. Now it's time to announce the winners. Hello everyone, Chris here. 3 weeks ago, I announced that I was partnering up with Printed Solid to give away 100 spools of Jessie PLA Filament. Now, you had to earn the filament by entering some contests. We had 2 contests going: who had the best reuse of a filament spool, and who could do the best 3D printer firmware hacking. And you all did not disappoint. We had a ton of great entries, so many it was really hard to choose the winners. But I did have help from my 4 special guest judges. Those judges again were Chuck Hellebuck from the Chep YouTube channel, where he does Filament Friday every week, Scott Latine, the curator of Marlin Firmware, Ivan Miranda, known for all kinds of crazy builds he does here on YouTube, and Vedran Marjanovic. You might know him as Wexter. He's created a ton of the awesome 3D printed models that you might have seen around. Check out all the information for all these folks in the description below. And a big thanks to all the special guest judges. It was great to get to talk with all of you and get caught up, as well as get your inputs on all of these projects. There was a broad range of backgrounds here, so there was a lot of valuable insight. And a lot of our judges are also firmware hackers, and some have done spool reuse before. You don't get a much better spool reuse project than a downhill spool racer. And if you've ever seen Chuck on YouTube before, I'm sure that you've seen this video. It scares me every time I watch it. So before we get to the winners, I wanted to show you some of these contest entries and just how creative some of our community members can be. Now, these aren't in any particular order, but I also wanted to give you some snippets from the dialogue that we had with the judges while we were trying to decide who was going to win each contest. And I think you're going to find some of this very interesting. And I think this is a great place to start. We actually had a contest entry that tried to reinvent the wheel, using the spool as the hub, and then you have snap-on filament replacements. You could switch them out to different types or different tread patterns. A really ingenious design. Speaking of wheels, how about reusing a spool for a hamster wheel? A quick 3D printed part here and there and a couple of bearings, and the hamster really seems to like it. Well done. And of course, what would this contest be if we didn't have an Ender 3 playing the Imperial Death March? And for the firmware contest, we actually had several really large projects submitted for review. And I took them to the judges, but we decided that they were either not close enough to what we were going for with firmware hacking, or they were just a little bit too professional to what the average community member could do. We wanted to keep it fair, and after all, you only did have 2 weeks to get all of this done. So let's continue on and take a look at a few more projects. How about a filament spool tie carousel?
Well, that's surely for a very stylish maker. I don't think that I own. Like, if I search to my house, maybe I have one, 2 tops. But yeah, it's for the daily stylish maker that needs to wear. So like maybe Colin First could use one.
Or a filament spool paint mixer. You can spin it with your drill.
But the part that is 3D printed is the right color.
How about a filament spool carousel for all your paints, so you can store them and find them easier?
Well, I need one. I have all my spray cans in buckets. In IKEA buckets all piled up, and yeah, every time that I have to grab one is a mess. So yeah, the first thing that I will, if I find this in real life, the first thing that I will try to do is spin it. Yeah. Three points less if it doesn't spin.
How about melting a spool down to fit on your head, mounting something on top, and using it as a hat? Now that's creative.
I mean, I would never wear flowers on my head. Actually, maybe I would, but...
How about a filament spool Christmas tree? Extra props for the size of this thing. That's a lot of spools.
Agreed. Plus the looks, minus the you have to store it somewhere. The big house. Maybe this person has big house.
And one of my personal favorites, 3D printed spool wall art. I don't know art, but I know I like reusing filament spools and lights. And how could you possibly go wrong with a completely automated reuse spool 3D benchy carousel? Extra points because they're benchies, and the top ones actually swing as the spools move. Incredibly well done.
Benchy carousel. You know what? When I started 3D printing stuff, I've seen like I just couldn't avoid all of those benches, and I was like, I will never print that thing in my life. Everyone is printing that, and I don't want to be like everyone else. And I think for a year and a half, I was avoiding that, and then I actually had to test one because I was interested in something, and then I look at that little thing, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cute. I love it.
We got you.
Here.
Reuse all your 3D printer spools to store your cords and cables? Never a bad idea.
Cable storage. Okay. Here, yeah, I have done something to say. I appreciate a lot the sincerity of the person who sent the entry, because they clearly stated cable storage, not cable organizer.
And I'm going to give this one an honorable mention because he technically did reuse the spool, but he got me with the benchy lights. Can't get much cooler than that. And here's a really interesting one. It was a late entry. He was having a hard time getting it completed, but it's supposed to be a vertical planter. You can use your spools, put little drawers on them, and then stack them so you can stagger the plants as they grow.
Vertical planter.
Yep.
Where are the plants? My theory is, as I mentioned before, no, bear with me. This person had a very good idea, but, and this is one is your fault, you didn't give them enough time first to buy soil, plant something, and let it grow. Like 2 weeks is not enough time.
I will take full responsibility for that. And that was just a few of the contest entries. I do thank everyone that entered both contests. You did a really nice job. I had a lot of fun going through all of them and checking out just what awesome things you can make. But now comes the hard part. We gotta select some winners, and there are winners in each category. For both categories, for third place, you could win 2 spools of Jessie PLA Filament. Second place, 5 spools. First place, 43 spools of Jessie PLA from Printed Solid. That is every color that they make. So let's get to it. We'll start with the spool reuse contest with third place. Third place for the spool category goes to Ed Johnson with his filament spool parametric mount system. He's created a set of spindles, spacers, mounting screws, and spool shelves, which enables you to mount different things on the wall while keeping the area on top of the spool flat. I think this is a great idea, but you could take it even further. This is an excellent start to get you thinking of ways that you can use these spools, and I can't wait to see what evolves out of this project. Congratulations, Ed.
Yeah, I see the usage of spools in this parametric system a little bit of overkill, but at the same time, as it is overkill, it doesn't limit the project, because you can go like, you can hang huge things from it and make like, because once you make a bracket for a keyboard, like everything goes. So yeah, I like it, yes.
And second place in the filament spool category goes to Josh with his filament spool fruit bowl. I really like this entry because he took a filament spool and made it into something else completely. If you didn't know that was a filament spool, you would never guess how it was made. I like the contrast in colors. It's just really creative altogether. Congratulations, Josh.
Fruit bowl. I like it, but also I was kind of nervous because I'm not good with melting stuff. I burned down the shed like a few months ago. Good thing is that, you know, food is not, nothing is exposed that you're gonna put in your mouth later. So that's a cool thing, because immediately I was looking at, okay, melted plastic and food, is it okay or not? I think in this case it's okay. I mean, as a designer, I need to say that I like the combination black and yellow here. So it kind of works. If it's like on some kind of table, I would definitely look at it, because it has that organic shape at the top part, and then it has that perfect circular shape on the bottom. Also, it kind of reminds me of a film roll, the bottom part of the spool.
And first place goes to Vincent, with his very creative use of a filament spool. How could you resist making a cat toy? This is a great idea. You could use it with a lot of different spool designs, and it's only a couple of 3D printed parts.
Okay, cat toy, that's definitely not fair, because I have 9 cats, and immediately I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. It's definitely a win for me.
Congrats, Vincent. Nicely done. And remember, if you're going to enter a contest, it never hurts to include some pictures of your pets. Congrats to all the spool reuse winners. It was really hard to choose the top 3 for all the judges, but who would have guessed it? An internet contest was won by a project that involves cats. Now on to the firmware contest with our 3rd place winner. And that one was sent in by Ryan. You can't go wrong with a custom Marlin theme. He went with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it came out great. It has the custom Marlin logo, a turtle icon as well, and even custom status icons. And I even heard that there might be 4 of these, one dedicated to each turtle.
Actually, I made a joke on Twitter a while ago that this was going to be our new logo, and it is pretty cool, and I like it. What are you going to do when you get more? I guess you'll have to put what's the rat's name? Splinter. Yeah, Splinter. Get Splinter in there, and then start putting the villains in.
And our 2nd place entry is a very elaborate Marlin custom animated boot screen. For you vintage PC users out there, you'll know just how cool this is. And this kind of screen takes a long time to animate. So kudos to Mike for hanging in there and getting it just right.
The boot animation on Amiga, I've seen similar things like that. Yeah. That's always clever. That's always a fun thing, no matter what printer it's on. You can do something like that. I remember doing animations on just the old 2x16 LCD, where you go into the character map and you can change things, so it's an old technique.
Right.
It's always fun.
And the winner of our firmware hacking contest is Gene. Gene came up with a really creative piece of software that allowed him to use a wireless controller from his laptop to completely control his 3D printer. I see a lot of different use cases here. I've had to program different locations on my 3D printer before. It would have been really handy to have this controller to be able to move it around. The program uses the standard USB interface to connect up to the printer. And you both have digital and analog motion control, as well as the different buttons dedicated to different processes, like extruding and going to home. I can't wait to see what else Gene does with this project. Very well done. Congratulations.
In this case, he's just doing joystick into his computer, I guess, and then out as G-code. So that's great, and it's a wireless option, And again, you totally a plug-in with in OctoPi would be great. Yeah. For that sort of thing. So that's a real cool thing. So kudos for not just using the built-in feature. That's what if I was going to jump into this, that's what I would try to do. Yeah, kudos. That's really, really good job. Well done.
So there it is. Thank you again to everyone that entered the contest. It was a lot of fun for me and the judges to see all of your entries, and congrats to all of the winners. We did our best to pick the most creative projects and the ones that we saw potential in. I'd like to see a lot of these projects evolve over time. And a huge thank you to Printed Solid for partnering up for this giveaway and providing all of this great filament. I will be in contact with the winners very soon, and you will be receiving your filament very shortly. Thanks again to everyone that participated and our great judges. That's it for today, and I'll see you on the next one.